BTFU.
Well, welcome to Young Guns Series 11. And
Still no cheerleader on the couch.
No, what's happening, Tommy? No cheerleaders?
Hang on, you've got it wrong again. It's not. It's Series 10.
Series 10.
Yeah.
Well, why has someone put Series 11?
It says round 11 because it's round 11, but we missed an episode because of the bye.
Yeah, no,
so,
get it.
Episode.
Yeah. Look, geez, we're coming up in the world. We've gone from footballers to coaches now. Head coach of West Tigers Jersey Flegg, Scott Kenna. Welcome, mate.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Great to see you. Obby Mace, good to see you as per normal.
As always.
And Tommy, good to see you too, mate.
Yeah, good to see you, mate.
You do live together.
Yeah. I do see you.
You do live together.
Oh, we do. Yeah. We were talking about that before, weren't we, mate? It was you live downstairs, I live upstairs, and I don't think I see you through the week.
So that's what happens when you have a mansion.
Yeah,
hey, big fella.
Lucky for some.
No, this is our little bonding experience.
Cute.
No, look, good to see you, Scotty, and great to have you on the show. It's nice to get a perspective of a coach and understanding what's going on with your own players, what's going on with the competition. So, mate, lovely to have you on board.
No worries,
mate, I want to start. You and I, we've gone back a few years. I think I was there when you started in 2017.
Yeah, I think you were,
And we might have won the Mats that year, and you guys won the Flegg.
That's right.
It's a great story, the Flegg winning that grand final. I couldn't believe it. I was over. I think we were travelling at the time, and we had it on the radio or whatever it was we were listening to on the podcast. And you guys tell us the story, because it's a bloody good story.
Yeah, so it's we finished equal 8th and 9th in the last year of the Holden Cup, so it was top 8 by I think it was about 6 or 8 for and against points. So we scraped in there.
Yeah.
And then I think we hadn't won more than three games in the year, and we went on this run,
And you had to win the last game, didn't you, of the season?
We actually lost the last game of the season.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and the other team won but didn't get enough points.
Yeah, right.
So we were actually keeping tally of it before in the warm-up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. And then we went on that run and won 4 in a row or 5 in a row, or else to go all the way. And
and went on to win the premiership.
Went on to win the premiership in the last couple of minutes against Para.
I think there was a bit of pressure too, wasn't there, on the team and on the coaches at the time? And
there's always pressure when you come to that time of year.
It was.
That's the thrill of coaching, the pressure.
Absolutely.
So it's but what Keith Titmus did in that last couple of minutes, unbelievable, and he was a young SG ball player or something like that, so he wasn't even top-age SG ball. So it was amazing feeling, and then had to watch Tavita kick that goal next to the post. I was the assistant coach. Wayne Lankin was the head coach. He was under the table not watching it. I was the only one watching it.
It was right on the bell, wasn't it?
Yeah. Belly gone.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
Mate, some of the players, though, too, that have gone on.
Yep.
Tell us about some of the players that were
so
on
you
the
got
Big
big Olakwatu, the back rower, Brad Parker, even though he was injured through the whole semi-final season, Pasika, he was injured through the whole.
Good to see he's retained all those players at the Tigers.
Wow. No, this is Manly.
This is
Manly. Is that Manly?
This is Manly. So they're all still Manly. Manasseh Fanu as well.
Cade Cust,
He's
was
going good over in England.
He's going really good.
Manasseh Fanu.
Yep, he was in there. He was the hooker.
So it was an all-star team.
Yeah, but it wasn't at the start. Like it was. They'd struggled the year before, really poorly, and then we struggled during the year as well. I think we went mid-season, lost 5 in a row or something like that, and you got beaten by Roosters by 60 points and stuff like that.
I'll ask you a question. What turned it around mid-season? What was it?
An honesty session in the middle of the video room. Yep, I could picture to the day. Basically, just said, if you don't think you can play NRL, get out.
Yeah,
and, some of them said, I don't think we can, and they got kicked out.
Really? Wow.
Made him stand in the corridor for a couple of minutes, and then Wayne Lampkin pulled him back in and said, "You ready to play NRL now?" And we went on. So
And Chops is a bit like that too, wasn't he? He's black and white. He doesn't. He calls a spade a shovel.
Yeah, he's very intelligent. Got a great football brain. But you are right. Yeah. Black and white, Choppy.
Yeah, and mate, moving on. Yep. Obviously, I got a phone call from you a couple of years ago to come over and coach with you at the Tigers.
Yep.
And at the time, I think I'd had enough, but I thought, I'll give it one more shot. I wasn't really interested in head coaching at the time. And I was there for one day. and I ended up the head coach with Yatesy. This bloke had got the job at Flegg.
Wow.
So we basically done a full reversal. You know, we both came in, Yatesy and I, and coached at SG Ball. Yep. You went up to Flegg. And, mate, how's that I guess, transition from being an assistant coach to head coach and Flegg being for you?
Yeah, well, it's more responsibility.
Yeah.
You're then now connected into the NRL system because you've got guys that are sitting in your roster that are in NRL roster and are playing that during the year. So that's the big difference. At SG Ball level, you're kind of the tip of the call it the juniors, and then when you go into the Flegg, you're now at the bottom of the best comp in the world. So there's a lot more pressure. There's a lot more professionalism around it. There's more people involved. There's more conversations you've got to have around selection, roster management. The game gets faster. I reckon it's the fastest comp out of all of them, including NRL. It's because it's 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So if you go through the grades, like you got the reserve grade or KOE is very physical. You've got NRL players. You've got men. It's the wrestle and it slows down. It's little contacts. Really well. And then you go to NRL and it's even better. You come down to our grade, it's like there's not much wrestle, there's not much contact, it's all speed. It's
so more of a touch footy game in there.
Yeah, to a certain degree. Yeah, a lot of flat and fast style football playing off the back of that momentum, all that type of jazz. It's not big shapes, and the defensive processes aren't as good as NRL and KOE. So
a bit like the women too, Scotty. Would you say? Not as fast as the women, but cleaner football. Do you think?
Yeah. And it's more eyes up, off the cuff football type style. Which, if you have a look at Penrith last year, that's how they play. That's how they play now. It's in those grades, they really understand it. So that's the big difference.
Yeah, I do want to get your opinion real quick, particularly this year about your Tigers side, just on how the boys have been going. Obviously, you guys have had some great wins there and some tough losses to take. I want to get your opinion on the season so far.
Yeah, we've had a really interrupted first 10 weeks due to people going in and out. And we've got a lot of injuries, so we're still trying to find our DNA. Like we're pretty close to finding it. We don't have your big X factors. We've got a lot of workhorses and a lot of power through the middle. So we're playing a power game, which worked against Manly, it worked against Newcastle. It almost
it's contributed to a lot of wins.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really hard, like trying to find your DNA in your football team when you've got people coming in and out and stuff like that. And that's from SG Ball kids and guys going up playing grade and all that type of jazz. So it's IDing that. I think we've almost got there. We almost got it against South on the weekend. And even though we lost to Penrith 2 weeks ago, we saw glimpses of it before we had people sent off and all that type of jazz. I thought it was a mess, but it's finding that DNA and coaching to your capabilities.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
It comes down to physical and psychological attributes. So obviously coaching at the younger grades, you've got men that are still developing. Yeah. I know because I didn't develop till I was about 30. You've got these younger kids that take longer, but they're really intelligent players. And then you've got the freaks of the Suolihis that are physical attributes. How much time do you give the kids that are mentally, like to give you an example, like Cameron Smith, arguably the best player to ever play the game, was nowhere near the fastest, nowhere near the strongest. JT, perfect example. How does this work with your coaching?
Yeah, I think, look, the gift of our game is that you can have both. You can have the physical, athletic types, and then you can have the football IQ that have a body of an accountant, right? And the best thing about our game is you need the mixture. You just can't be one dimensional. You can't be all this robotic, 3% body fat and all that type of jazz and all those technical stuff. You need the brains and you need to put them in the right place. Yeah. So you can, and I'm talking about spines and that type of jazz. So going back on your question, how much time do you give them? Well, I think you can give them till they're in their mid to early 20s, because if you have a front rower who isn't fully developed to their mid-20s but has this athletic body, well, then we can teach him some brains. Other way around too, if you've got a young halfback who's got the brains but is built like a stick figure, you can. There's now the science part of the game and all the people that's involved in it. You can put body mass on and not put too much on as well. You can overdo it. So they track it. And yeah, so basically the answer is both. You need both.
Yeah.
You can't just have one way. So, and that gives your little men time to break up the game, and then you've got your power men to do certain things at certain times of football field. So you need the mixture. You can't be just one dimension.
Now, I do hate to do this to you, Scott, but we do have to review last week's game against the Rabbitohs. A tough day for your boys. It was a close game, 24-20 ended up. I just want to get your opinion on that game, and what went wrong or what went right.
I think, look, it's, as I said earlier, we're just starting to find our DNA and find who we are, and we were really good in patches. We're doing our video review last night. Actually, we ID'd 7 opportunities that we didn't ice.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of been our Achilles heels. Is just not icing that last moment, that last pass, or making that decision, and that probably comes on the back of losing games. You lose confidence to actually throw the football. So we're trying to encourage our guys to finish it. Take nothing away from South. South wanted it more than us. There's a couple of times where the ball was on the ground and around kicks and stuff, and just South wanted it more hungrier more. And I pointed that out to the group.
Which has been the story of this South team season.
Correct.
Like they've won a lot of games where you wouldn't expect them to win, and they've just had that fight to win the game. Obviously against Penrith.
Yeah.
The Bulldogs they beat. So that's the story of their season.
Yeah, and we ID'd that. Athletic type football team. They got young Jai Gray in there now, gives them a little bit of X factor. But before he been injured, before that, they were just workhorses and just kept coming at you. Just never gave up. And that's like they did that, and then we had 2 line breaks in the last 2 minutes to win the game and couldn't ice it. But young Munro, come from behind and effort play and pulls it down. So and stops the game, stops the try, or stops an opportunity to score a try. So that's South at the moment, which will take you a long way at flag level. Because not a lot of teams have it.
Obviously, Josh Flaherty with a double. What other players played well on the day for you? You reckon?
Young Trey Penny at fullback. Our fullback's playing first grade, so Doreen Buller. So we don't really have one. So we're trying to.
What a superstar he! What a terrific footballer!
Good,
wow.
Yeah. So a good story about Buller. So his best mate Trey Penny texted me last year and said my mate's moved down from Titans to come live in Sydney. I've never heard of Doreen Buller in my life. Flicked onto the club. The club had heard of Doreen Buller. And went, get him to training, and then the rest is history. So
wow.
Yep.
Awesome. What a good little story.
Yeah. So he's a great kid, mate. Great kid. He's the most athletic thing I've ever seen.
Oh, he's the difference for the Tigers at the moment. My personal opinion. That's what they've needed.
Is there anyone else in the side that you think will play first grade?
From my time, there's a young kid called Talon De Silva, a hooker.
Who scored as well.
Yeah, he's a West from the West District. Young SG ball at the moment, playing for me at the moment, which I'm, and he's in the full-time system as well, which is they've ID'd him pretty early. He's going to be something special.
Another SG Ball graduate that I just want to give a little shout out to. He's a good mate of mine. Came off the bench for the Bunnies, Dane Towns. He won their best back of the year for their SG Ball season, and he was a great player for that SG Ball side. And he came on and was X factor at the back there. Scored a nice try.
How much did he pay you for that, Tommy?
Well, he's good. I want to get him on.
Hopefully, shouts him a haircut.
You wouldn't want to see his haircut. You'll love his haircut. But
Scotty, something else I just wanted to sort of add is that this West side was a pretty talented side this year in SG Ball.
Yep.
Can you see a gradual, I guess, lift from your side at the back end of the season with these kids once they get a few games under their belt?
Yeah, and a lot of those kids are still year-young ball. So they're from that Harold Matthews team that won it last year, so they're still babies. So we've got to manage it right. So it's like you give them a little bit of a taste and let them rest, because they're still only, like, I think Talon turned 18 on the Thursday before he played their first game at Flegg, right? So so there's all those type of things, workload. Go back to your talking about your physical stuff, your body, and managing their workloads. So we are resting some at the moment. So they played against Manly, and then we've given them a couple of weeks off, and we're just filtering them in through the team on the weekend, just to give them that taste. So we
impressive
don't break
though, isn't
it.
You're young still.
Yeah.
Wow,
There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them that come.
So it's an exciting year ahead next year. Well, it sounds of it.
Couple of years.
Like couple of really strong years.
You hear the club talk about it. There's got some good juniors coming through, and that's the ones they're talking about.
Let's see if they can hold on to any of them.
Well, that was an undefeated Harold Matt's side, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
They won the comp.
It's impressive.
That Alex Conti goes good, that half as well.
Young Alex Conti at Balmain, but he's still got a bit of work to do on his game, but he's going to be a good kid.
There's something
really
there,
good kid.
Sure. Yep.
Something there.
100%. He's got really good footy IQ. Really good footy IQ.
Really good player
for that age group too.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Tommy, let's run through the week that was, mate.
Yeah, awesome. I'm going to start off quickly with the Dragons Knights game. Dragons come away with a win here, 30-22, puts a stop to that little run the Knights have had with a couple wins there. Knights had plenty of SG Ball graduates from their grand final team in this squad. And inside the first 15 minutes, both sides scored 2 apiece. So it was a great game to watch. The Dragons just wanted it more a little bit. Newcastle, they held a dominant lead, and then they ended up letting in 3 unanswered tries at the end there for the Dragons to come away with a win.
Yeah, just a quick one for that, Tommy. And Scotty, you might be able to add to this. Is the continuity go sometimes when you start bringing SG Ball players in, moving Flegg players up into probably reserve grade or whatever in the cup? Does the continuity go? Because Newcastle were on a bit of a roll, won't they, for probably 2 or 3 weeks?
It's a disruption for sure. Some great players though. That was in that grand final team that's come in, but. Some combos there, maybe in the halves, especially like that you want to try stick with.
Yeah,
what do you think?
It's got a lot to do with the clubs as well. If you're coaching similar things through the grades, speaking the same language, that hopefully when they do come in, they understand what's going on, and you're 100% right.
That's interesting to know.
Hey, sorry, mate?
That's interesting to know.
Yeah, it's really, really important that we filter. Like, we don't want every team to be the same, but we just want to make sure we're speaking the same language. So when kids do come up or go down, that when you're talking about what we're doing, they know what you're talking about, and you're not restarting. So I know clubs are big on that. And so same with where I sit now, I have conversations with above me that make sure that we're speaking the same language. I'm talking about, shapes and things you do in defence and that type of jazz. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then you put your spill on it depending on your team.
Sure. Yeah. Tommy.
Well, it's another big win for the Storm. This time against the Dogs. They've beaten the Dogs 34-20 this time. They beat, obviously, Cronulla last week. They're having a great run at the moment. Dogs, they had a 2-possession lead at the start of the game, and they look like they'd get the win for sure. But I had a little bit of a name problem last week. Michael Jennings and Mitchell Jennings. He must have been watching the episode because Mitchell Jennings from the Storm at second row, he scored a double and he had a great game. So and Keegan Russell Smith, who I've mentioned a couple times on our podcast, he had the ball on a string. He was great. What do you call it? Set up a few tries and he was great. The captain.
Fantastic. So, I look at that Melbourne side because we were down there playing before you, and even though you won that game, I thought Melbourne had something. There was a few players, a couple of those big hombres that came out. I thought the Tigers did bloody well to win that game.
Yeah,
it was a good win.
The Melbourne have changed a little bit. They've reinvested in their pathways a little bit, where they've kind of neglected, I suppose you'd say, to a certain degree over the last couple of years. But they're back into looking after their pathways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next game, not too much to say in this game. Eels have sort of dominated the Raiders here, 32-14. Raiders struggled with only 53% completion rate. They were error-ridden in this game. Ned Hicks' absence in the halves meant that Ethan Sanders got a start from the SG Ball. He's got a lot of noise behind him, and he had a solid game. So, not much to say, but Eels get a good win to keep them in 5th spot around the top 4 there as well.
Brilliant.
And next game, Sharks have absolutely dominated Manly. Poor Manly at the bottom of the table. Sharks, this was a statement win for them. 40-4 it ended up. The return of the Riolo Fuzz partnership that I was very vocal about at the start of this season. They were great together. Put most of the tries in for them. It was a statement win for this Sharks team. They dominated possession, and they've probably been a bit upset with a few of their results recently. So they still sit pretty in the top 4 there. But they're trying to make a comeback there with some of their results. Poor Manly at the bottom though.
They're terrible. They've gone through a lot of upheaval this year. They've had a change of coaching, and so I mean, look, it's probably the first time actually I've seen Manly struggle so much. I mean, Flegg's been always a tough one for them, but
is there an issue with the club, like overall?
Oh, look, there's obviously been a lot of change. Scott Fulton moving to the West Tigers now, and that brings change to the club. But I think the change that they're bringing to the club is for the best. I'm really positive about where Manly's heading. We hear Jeff Tooby now has been appointed as the pathways or director coaching there. So, Tommy, Scotty's had to head off the training, mate. He's left us all alone. Mace has decided to go with him.
Yeah,
I think he's trying to
I've got my
new
spot
contract.
back, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm back in my spot.
Yeah. So unfortunately, it was great to have Scotty on the show and just give us some great insight on coaching this year and the Flegg side and just an overall view of the whole competition as well.
For sure.
Yeah,
it was great having him.
Mate, we've got to go through this last game.
It was my main game, so we've got to talk about it.
The Panthers and Roosters.
Yeah. The Panthers forwards laid the platform to conquer the ladder-leading Roosters. Roosters, after this loss, they're still up there. They're still top. Obviously, Mace is gone now, so he,
poor old Mace.
He wouldn't want to hear about this, so maybe it's better.
Well, they're the only side on top, aren't they, for the Roosters?
They are. They are. Sharks are now nipping on their heels to come to take that first spot. But it was just some uncharacteristic errors from this Roosters side allowed the Panthers to put on plenty of points. Like I said, it was a strong performance from Penrith's forwards and allowed the likes like Liam Eisen returning at fullback to absolutely dominate. Well, we've mentioned him a couple of times, and he was a young gun for. I forgot who it was. One of our guests named him as their young gun.
Yeah.
But he's a superstar, and he tore up off the back of his forwards. Great work there.
I think it might have been Hugo Savala.
It might have been Savala. Aston Warwick, who has also been mentioned a couple of times from Penrith, he scored a magnificent try, 50-metre try. He broke the line and ran 50 metres to score. It was just a great try to watch. The Roosters, they were lacklustre in the first half, and it ended up being 22-6 at the break. But they were a lot better in the second half in an attempt to
That's a typical Penrith. They've got off to a flyer again, haven't they?
Yeah, and then they've sort of they've taken their foot off the gas. We've said that. Yeah, the Rocks and Diamonds. They were fantastic in the first half, but they sort of let their foot off the gas a little bit. And Roosters, in an attempt to salvage the result, they held most of the possession in the second half and looked a lot better. With the return of Hugo Savala, who we've had obviously as one of our first guests, he came back and we saw a new partnership in the halves with him and Braith Alexander from the Chooks.
Braith, another Alexander coming through the ranks.
Obviously an ex-Penrith player as well, up against his old team. Yeah. So he's been great in recent weeks, Braith Alexander, to stay in this team.
Got a good young brother too coming through the ranks at Manly.
Yeah, for sure. But in the game, Braith, he cut the line and looked like he was going to set up a try, only for his supporting player to drop it. And that was sort of the story of this game, just a lot of errors, both in the first half and the second half from both teams. And the Panthers, they started to get sloppy late, giving the Roosters more chances of the back of their errors and penalties, and that resulted in Viola Tamati scoring a double there at the end to finish the game and make the result look a little bit better. But Panthers, they dominated most of this game.
They're the team you picked at the start of the year. Can you see them starting to build?
They're building. They're definitely building. Not the way that I thought their season was going to go. At the start, I thought they would dominate again after their heroics last season. But to beat this Roosters side, who have been great as of late, is definitely a statement win. It's good for them.
Fabulous, mate. Young gun.
Yeah. So, buddy, Scott was meant to give us his young gun. He told me his young gun before this, so I know who it is. And it was after their game against Bunnies, he said Tyrone Munro at wing there.
Yeah, he's a cracking player. He put 4 on us in the trial.
Yeah, in your SG Ball trial.
So he's one really to watch.
He was electric, and he's been hanging around the first grade side at training, and I saw on TV him and Jai Gray just in the change rooms there. So they're obviously blooding him to maybe get a crack. Yeah,
maybe Johnson.
Maybe switch out for him when he gets a little bit older. Maybe
then
get a
we've
crack.
got Jack White coming too. So
for sure. Well, they're going to have a stacked side for sure. That's
tough,
Bunny's team. Yeah. But he was his young gun. He's electric, and he's got a lot of good noise behind him as well. So yeah.
Fabulous.
Good for him.
Mate, again, another great, I guess, Young Gun series and really good to have a Jersey Flegg coach and give us some
For sure.
change up of...
I'd like to get him back later in the season, like a lot of our players will get back.
yeah, it's very empty over there now, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, hopefully his Tigers are going a little bit better.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Get shit up to the top of the ladder.
Get him at the right end of the season, hopefully. Sure. And that's it for Young Guns for another week. You can go to www.btfu.com.au or subscribe. See you next week.
Thank you.